June 7th Planning Board meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is minutes of May 31st.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to table the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval not required. Any plans received, Brian?
Not this week.
No plans, okay. And then moving on quickly, the planning board discussion, applicant 155 Catherine Lee Bates Nominee Trust, Linda Clark, Noah Totten, trustees, site plan review for construction of one new building comprised of 2,117 square feet for 4 dwelling units, apartments located at 155 Catherine Lee Bates Road, BSS Design. So this is site plan review, okay. For the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, I'm Laura Moynihan, Falmouth attorney representing the applicant trust. And with me tonight is Tom Bunker from BSS Design, whose firm has done the surveying and engineering work, John Kenny, architect, and Tom Lee, landscape architect. Noah Totten is here, who's the president of the Fairwinds Clubhouse and one of the trustees of the 155 KLB Nominee Trust, and Linda Clark is on her way, so she should be here. She's also a trustee. And so Tom is going to present the site plan to you. I just wanted to make a few introductory comments about the Fairwinds property and the clubhouse, just for general information. The Fairwinds group provides programs and services to support mental health rehabilitation for adults on the Upper Cape. Currently, they have about 100 adult members that use the clubhouse. Some of the programs and services that are available are vocational training in business and culinary skills. They have an employment program that supports members who are ready to take their place in the workforce. They have an art program to give creativity skills to members. So the construction of the 4 one-bedroom apartments at this property at 155 Catherine Lee Bates Road is an extension, in a sense, of providing 4 housing units to rental to the Fairwinds members. It will give the club the opportunity to assist those members in learning daily life skills, cooking, paying bills, things like that. So that is the purpose of the apartments. They will be rented to the members. The Friends of Fairwinds is a nonprofit organization. Financial support for it comes from the Department of Mental Health and public support. And in 2011, this property was purchased with the Falmouth Housing Corporation for the Fairwinds Clubhouse. Since that time, the Fairwinds, Friends of Fairwinds, Inc. is the sole beneficiary of the trust that owns the property. So this project does require a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals for multifamily dwellings in a business district. That hearing is currently, will start June 16th for the Zoning Board. We do have a split lot here, Business 2 and Business 3. In developing these plans, we worked very hard to reduce the lot coverage to meet the more restrictive district, the Business 3 district. So you'll see on the plans that the lot coverage does meet the Business 3 requirements of 35% by structures, 65% overall. Currently, the lot coverage is slightly over 70% overall, so the project does reduce the lot coverage. The density for the dwelling units meets the requirements of the bylaw at 6 units per acre. Here we have 30,000 square feet of land, so we're proposing 4 units. Tom will now present the site plan. I also, on the slides, I gather we were asked to file the elevation plans for the building. The landscape plan is there as well. I just wanted to clarify My understanding is the Design Review Committee is no longer functioning. So we were asked to file the architectural plan so that the planning board could act in that capacity. I would just like to clarify that I believe that capacity is advisory to the zoning board for architectural issues. Certainly landscape is within the purview of site plan review. But I think that's important because if we start getting into multiple layers of architectural review between two boards, then we have multiple conditions. So I'm not sure that's really the intention there. But in any event, certainly would love to show the architecturals to the planning board. I just wanted to clarify that we're hopeful that if you have suggestions for changes, that those are advisory to the zoning board. So with that, I would ask Tom to present the site plans to you. Thank you.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design, and I think it would help if we got lights off or dim. I think that's correct. I think
That's the task of the person sitting in that seat, John. You have to look.
So
John did it.
Trial by error, you'll figure it out.
One's marked with orange.
There you go.
All right. Laura has already covered part of what I was going to say, but we did survey this property. You can see we're at the intersection of Gifford Street, Catherine Lee Bates, and Haddon Avenue. We have this one existing building here, and this is where the Fairwinds Clubhouse operates now. As Laura described their function, it is also the home of New Wave Printing Shop and several other office spaces, small office space on the ground floor, I believe, and then there's some office space on the second floor. As you mentioned, the overall lot coverage down there by both buildings and paving and parking is 70.57%, which is 5% over what's allowed in the B3. Actually, it's over what's allowed in the B2 also, I believe. We do have, when we saw that this building here is non-conforming to the setbacks from both Haddon Ave and Catherine Lee Bates, we went to Eladio Gore and got a front yard designation letter, which makes Gifford Street as the only street where the buildings are at least 25 feet back. So Gifford Street is the primary front yard. We'll have the primary front yard setback of 25 feet. And Catherine Lee Bates is allowed to have, front yard is required to have no more than 10-foot setback from the street line for structures. I can point out that all the underground utilities are in Gifford Street and Haddon Avenue, partly because of the history of how Catherine Lee Bates was put in. These were two through streets, and water, gas, electric, and everything is down here, and the same here. Actually, there's a short sewer stub in here, which I can get to later. But there are no utilities in here, and there was a comment from the engineering department about no cutting Catherine Lee Bates. There's a moratorium on it. But as it worked out, the moratorium on cutting Gifford Street has lapsed, and we are coming in with utilities from Gifford Street. No need to cut Catherine Lee Bates. The proposed site plan, we have the existing building here and the proposed building in this location here. So we have a slightly more than 10-foot setback from the street line in this location off of Catherine Lee Bates, and 25.1-foot setback to this corner of the deck in this location to believe the building itself is a 25.7 foot setback in that location. So this will conform to the front yard requirement setback on Gifford Street and a side yard 10-foot setback on Catherine Lee Bates. The curb cut, as you can see, is basically the same. We did have to move it to the west about 6 or 7 feet because of the size of the building here. You can see that it's the curb cut, and well, can't really tell here, but it's moved over and redefined a little bit. It's a little bit undefined right now, so we put in some more curbing. It's the 20 feet wide at the throat of it right here, and widens out, since many of the, or all of the clients, the members of the Fairwinds Clubhouse are delivered by their cars, or they have, Fairwinds has a couple of large vans. We have a large area here. That's where drop off and pick up right here. There's a crosswalk right across here running from the main build, or the apartment building to the front door of Fairwinds here, and then there's also a handicap spot. So together, that makes, we have 29 feet from here, including the crosswalk, and another 8 feet with a one handicap spot, which will generally be open. So this is, you know, basically open for emergency vehicles also if they have to, and they do once in a while get an ambulance call into this. If you might know, my office happens to be right over here, so we get to see some of the excitement that goes on once in a while. So we have the, you know, the vans dropping off, and they come in here. There's a large gravel area here where they can drive in, turn around, or pull in and park in one of these spots. Also the dumpster back here. Right now the dumpster is a little further up. The existing pavement ends further up the hill, and the dumpster's right in that location. So this building does take up some, I believe about 7 parking spaces, but we've added 4 parking spaces down here. And from what we've seen from our window, this is hardly, if ever, full of, you know, the parking need doesn't fill up here. As you can see, it's just a simple paved driveway, straight in here, pavement. The grading runs from Catherine Lee Bates down, and this is the low spot on the property, so runoff will flow into a catch basin down here, and we do have 2 leaching pits in this location. So we have the 2 leaching pits here. That's for the parking, stormwater runoff. The apartment building will have downspouts and pipes running to a leaching pit in this location for this building. And there was a comment in the engineering review of this being undersized, and in my response I noted that it wasn't clear in that, but we're improving the situation of the stormwater runoff by adding this drainage, but it is only enough for the north half of the building flowing into this location. So this is properly sized for one half of the building. We have requested a reduction in the parking requirement by special permit to allow reduction from, I believe, 32 spaces to 23 spaces. And this is based on several factors. One, the different hours, peak hours of use. the different businesses in here, the printing shop, they do the business, and people come in and pick it up. Some offices, which different hours. The 4 units that are being added basically have no parking demand of their own because they are members of this clubhouse, so they'll be living here and walking over to the clubhouse. Of course, they'll get visitors once in a while, but we'd expect that most of the visitors would be in the evenings and weekends during the non-peak hours for office space and other uses in this building. So we think that because of these factors, that the reduction in the required parking is appropriate. We will submit, there's another comment from the engineering department. Scott asked for details for the curbing to make sure it complies with the ADA requirements. And of course, we'll do that at the time when we apply for the street opening permit for this location. And I did just talk with Scott today. I don't know if he called the planning office, but he did say that Pete McConerty said it was okay to do whatever small cutting along here would be necessary to remove some curbing and replace it to make the slight change in the location of that curb cut. And so he said that would be fine. As I said, utilities will be entering from Gifford Street here, so there'll be no large cuts into Catherine Lee Bates. As referred by engineering and by conservation, all the stormwater runoff will be kept on the site. The septic system is drawn in here. It will combine the flow of the 2 buildings into 1 septic tank and down into the pit. It will comply with Title V. Currently, there's just a small pit, vastly undersized for what we have there, so this would be an improvement by putting all the septic into a large one and taking out the old system, which is right up here. We did look at connecting to the town sewer. It would have entailed running line from here and down Haddon Avenue to behind Steve's Pizza. The cost of running that pipe, there's a lot of utilities in here, a lot of crossings with water mains and water services and everything else, and the length, cutting it open and repaving that whole road. So the timeline of permitting that and the cost of the construction was deemed unacceptable, so they went the route of putting in their own septic system on the property here. Which is good because the treatment plant has a limited capacity considering everything is being added to it. So this is keeping some of the capacity out of there for others to connect. There were a couple other questions that Scott had on his referrals. We did add in here, we did add the existing parking spaces that are all on Gifford Street now. There's one right here, and actually you see this one right here is actually already too close. I talked with Noah and Linda Clark about this, and they said that this one space here is sometimes a problem for, as it exists now, for cars entering their parking lot. So it's a problem already. We will be moving the entrance to the west a little bit. I've drawn on a 20-foot radius here. This one parking spot will have to be painted over to remove that one. It was already too close and causing problems in this makes it a little bit closer. We did do the perk tests. You questioned how many perk tests we did here. Typically, the way we do it is the backhoe will dig a trench and we'll call the far end and the near end of the trench test pits 1 and 2, and the far end and near end of the other trench test pits 3 and 4. And that's how we came up with four test pits here, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And so we have them shown on here now. That way, we did not do a test pit up in this location or this location, but we do know from here that once you get through the fill, now this used to be a car repair shop or a car sales shop here, and it is sort of reclaimed land. There is fill there. This location was historically a house site, got taken over by Catherine Lee Bates. We don't expect fill to be in this location. I know from other excavations nearby that down 4 or 5 feet it is sand and gravel. I added the note that Scott requested, certainly, that any will strip out, similar to a septic system strip out, that will strip out any unsuitable material from around the drainage pits, both here and if any is encountered up in the other locations. Tom Lee's office did the landscape plan. So just briefly, some of these are existing trees. There are 2 trees here, Norway, I believe they're sycamore maples. Sycamore maples in this location that are in not good health. They are on, I have to check and see which property they're on. I know one of them is on our property. Do you recall, Tom, both of them? The lower one is on our property. This one is on our property, the larger one. This one is in poor health, and it is somewhat of a, causes a blind spot coming out. But anyway, these 2, because of their health condition, are proposed to be removed. Another street tree added here, and then within the parking areas, some other trees added. Also, some screening trees or shrubs along here and along here. This is a series, there's 4 decks, 1 per unit here, and a series of concrete patio walkway areas through here. So there are interior walkways. One purpose is to get the occupants of these over to the building, to the clubhouse, but it also opens up and connects with the existing sidewalk on Gifford Street here, and there's a sidewalk up along here to get to Catherine Lee Bates, and on this side of the driveway to get up to Catherine Lee Bates. So there's a good pedestrian circulation in here, and I think good between the existing trees that we have here and around, and the proposed trees and shrubs, good screening and a good landscape design going there. On the elevations, we have this is the north elevation, be viewed from Catherine Lee Bates Road. We have there's 1 unit there, I think 2 units in this part of the building, and then a 4th unit there. There are no doors on this side of the building, so you can see, and that's, I don't know if I call it, the safety of the occupants there. So their activities will be focused back here and over to the clubhouse, and not going directly out to the sidewalk on Catherine Lee Bates. So there are no doorways along this side of the building. So this is the south elevation facing onto the site. So we have the doors here. There's a door into the sort of a side opening door there and a side opening door there. This, I think, is the door, just goes down into the basement. And then the west elevation, this will be visible from the Fairwinds Clubhouse, and this is the elevation that will be visible from Gifford Street. Well, there are the floor plans, we can go through that quickly. Basically just, I don't know if you want to talk about this, John, or I can just go through it quickly. Let's go quickly. Yeah, it's basically just 4 units. There's a bathroom, kitchen, bedroom area in each building, in each unit. 4 units, 1, 2, 3, 4 units. That's it? Yeah.
Thanks, Tom. I just wanted to add as well on the parking, on the shared parking. One of the factors in the grant of the special permit for the reduced parking by the Board of Appeals is downtown location or proximity of the site. So one of the arguments that we will put forward to the zoning board is that the location is downtown. It fosters pedestrian travel, less need for vehicles. You saw the public parking spaces that are directly adjacent to this property. If you continue to travel, I guess to the west towards the Mullen Hall School, there are actually an additional 6 spaces, 3 on the Catherine Lee Bates, on the same side of the street as the school, and then another 3 on the opposite side where the snow building is. So there's that public parking available, and then of course if you want to go a little further, you have the Library Square. So that is just another factor that I wanted to mention, that I think the availability of public parking is one of the key elements in the reduced parking for this location. So I think with that, we'd be happy to take questions if you have any.
Doug?
I have a question about the drainage on the roof, roof runoff. Why is it not possible to catch the south side of the main building?
It could be possible. It was just, say, a little more difficult. We didn't want to get into having to, if we had
Is it all paved
If
there?
we had a downspout there, we'd have to cut through all the pavement and utilities to get up to here. It is possible. We could also run a pipe through. There's a gas line through this little alleyway through here. We could run a pipeline through that small space, but then, we would have to come down and tie it in here because there's a required setback from a leaching field for a septic and then a leaching pit for storm drainage. We could tie into that. To do that, though, they would have to be bigger and actually deeper. We'd have to add a 2-foot sleeve to the bottom of each one of those, getting it 2 feet closer to groundwater and all, more construction costs. It can be done. I felt that, taking half of this was certainly an improvement over what's there now.
And what's happening now? Is it ponding or is there?
It probably is. If I walk down here to get a pizza, there's puddles behind Steve's. But I haven't noticed. The pavement here is in such bad condition that, of course, there are puddles no matter when it rains. I don't know that it causes any great difficulty. I haven't heard complaints about it. Probably if it takes a lot. I think some of this running off of this side, it's grassy through here. Probably some just finds its way over the surface down into this low area. Some might find its way here, and I suppose it probably can run downhill out there toward Main Street. It's fairly flat, but it doesn't cause any big problems that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Any questions?
I have a question, yes. Tom, currently when they drop off people to the Fairwinds in the travel vans, how do they exit the property? Do they back out onto Catherine Lee Bates, or do they turn around?
They turn around. There's Well, they'd come in, drop off here, and there is this maneuvering room if they come in, and they can, back into this pavement and then leave. I haven't noticed them backing out onto Catherine.
They won't be able to do that in the future if this building gets put there. So
Right,
you
that's
you
why
say they're going to go down to the end and turn around in the
There's some
gravel?
uses here, there's a gazebo and some gardens that will have to be removed to enable the turning down here rather than turning up top.
Okay. And also, you mentioned in your letter that the curb cut's going to be approximately 8 inches more, but you're going to move it? So are they,
I think in the letter, that was in my response, I think it's saying that the cut in the pavement would be about 8 inches wide to remove some. The curb cut is moving, west about 7 feet.
they're not going to require a permit for that, or?
Yeah, we have to file a street opening permit, a curb cut permit to do that. And that was one of Scott's comments, that we would have to file that permit application. And what about the 8 inches? I'd said they typically make a saw cut about 8 inches away to excavate, remove the curb.
And who will grant that relief? What board?
Well, the permit, the curb cut permit comes from the engineering department.
Correct.
And that's where Scott said it's, for that narrow amount of cutting, Pete McConaty said that would be
Acceptable?
acceptable.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I apologize for coming late, there was another meeting, but I had a question about the septic system.
Mhm.
The soil borings you have show fill down about 7 or 8 feet. The septic system is up in that area. How are you going to install that septic system? You explain that?
It all has to be dug out. There's a note. I think it's, should be a note on there that says, similar to the note for the storm drainage. I'd have to check it, but a note says that, and it's a typical note for septic systems, that all unsuitable material be removed from beneath the septic system. This note right here, I can't read it on this screen. Soil strip out required below the SAS down to the top of the sea layer, approximately 6 to 8 feet. So all of that fill material has to be removed and then filled back in with clean sand up to the bottom of where the bottom of the septic system will be, and then the system placed on that. It's typical for a system. It would be the same thing if it were natural material, natural slow-perking material. It'd have to be dug out and replaced with sand.
Thank you.
I have a question. Did I hear you say the sewer is available to this site?
Not officially.
Does the sewer line run to the property line?
No.
So you'd have to,
The sewer line is, so let's say Steve's Pizza is right down, there's Haddon Avenue, and Steve's is right in here. The sewer line goes just to behind Steve's. There's a short stub of sewer line behind Steve's Pizza right in here.
so it's not in front of
So
this
it's-
property in any way?
it's-
Because I thought if it was feasibly able to connect, that you had to connect. Did the Board of Health already review all this?
They have, well, this has gone to the Board of Health, and we've talked with Amy Lowell about it. This property is not in the Seward area, the official Seward area on Main Street. We don't front on it.
Okay.
This is
You
just,
have sign off from the Board of Health to not connect to the sewer, is what you're saying?
we haven't gotten anything officially.
I can help with that. When this development was proposed, the possibility of connecting to the sewer was investigated at length, because it's an obvious, can we connect to the sewer? I mean, but the location of the sewer doesn't make it feasible. The Board of Health will review this as part of the special permit on referral, but there's no separate permitting requirement to the Board of Health other than application for the septic system approval. So the key issue here is that the sewer does not come to the property. So
I think that if a Title V compliant system could not be made to fit with the proper reserve area, which we have met all the requirements of Title V, if we could not meet all those requirements, then if the sewer was close enough, rather than giving a variance for Title V, they might say connect to the sewer. But in this case, the sewer is not immediately adjacent to and immediately available, and we can meet all the requirements of Title V. So there's no requirements to tie into it.
And I just might add that an extension of the sewer requires a town meeting vote. So it's not an easy thing where you can try and get that done.
I wasn't
in
clear
this
when he
situation.
mentioned the sewer. I thought it might have been up to the property line. That's the question. That answers the question. It's not available.
It's not up to the property lines.
It's not up to the property line, and I don't think you're going to get an extension. That's the answer I was looking for.
But you do have a stub there. I don't think it would really technically be an extension.
Well, that's
You'd
what.
have
Can
to-
you show where the
You'd
stub
have to
is?
do the work privately.
Is the stub
It's-
up? You talked about the stub. That's
Here's head now.
and where's the edge of the property?
Property is here.
Okay, so the stub is beyond the property line.
The stuff
Okay,
is down in
that's
that now.
clear enough. Thank you.
Another question. Is there a referral from the fire department about access? Haven't got
Not a
that?
referral, if it
Let's
wasn't
see.
sent one. And I didn't get over to talk to Mel.
I don't see it, but I will check in with the fire prevention officer.
This is basically the same layout, the same amount of area up here as what they have now.
Mhm.
I believe they did issue one, if you can give me a minute. But it may have been filed with the zoning board.
Boom, 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 boom. Let's see, files sent.
We usually get a letter.
I do have a referral back from Mel Trout, and they sign off no comment.
Any comments from the public? No? Everybody all set?
Yes.
Do you hear a motion?
Boom, boom, boom. So we'll see you again.
Oh, okay, this is preliminary?
Yeah, this is the introduction tonight, and we'll see you for a decision at your next available meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, we did not, because you need to do that for us. You'll have a chance to read it the next time. Go ahead. Go ahead, Paul. You want to read this?
Just for official purpose, I'd like to mention that a public notice was sent out to 11 butters by regular mail on this project.
Thank you. Discussion, okay. Next on the agenda? What's that? Oh, do you want to bring the minutes up, get those out of the way?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion ask Paul to ask for approval of the meeting, of the
We
minutes.
table the minutes.
Table the minutes.
I recommend approval of the minutes of May 31st, 2016.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Thank you very much. Next, applicant Falmouth Hospital, Cape Cod Healthcare, Inc., site plan review, expand existing skilled nursing facility known as JML Care Center located at 184 Terhan Drive, Holmes and McGrath. For the applicant. Oh, notice, sorry.
Excuse me. Public meeting notice was published on May 27, 2016, and 2 abutters were notified by regular mail. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Bob Ament, and together with Attorney Kevin Clower, we represent the JML Care Center. JML is an affiliate of Cape Cod Healthcare and Falmouth Hospital. It's a nonprofit skilled nursing facility and rehabilitation center with an adult daycare program for memory impaired. It's located on 6.27 acres at 184 Terhune Drive to the northwest of Falmouth Hospital itself. It's abutted by other property of the hospital or affiliates. This is the Heritage Assisted Living Center over here. To the northwest is the Gosnold Treatment Facility. The hospital is over in this area. BB Woods is over here. JML has 132 beds. The facility is almost 27 years old. It was first permitted in 1989, and 12 beds were added in 1992. So it's time for some upgrading, and upgrades are proposed, including the construction of or reconfiguration of new private rooms. No increase in the number of beds in the facility, just a change to a significant number of rooms that are semi-private rooms to private rooms. So some rooms will be new, and some existing space will be reconfigured from semi-private rooms to private rooms. The new rooms are in this area, a little over 6,000 square feet of addition on the first floor. That's about half of the proposed additions to the facility. Over here, there will be some new physical therapy rehab space, and there are a few other additions. There's a new stairwell in this area. At the front entrance to the facility, there'll be a new entrance, and outside the access will be improved with better ramps. Next to that area, there'll be some administrative space. Be a new employee dining area in this area. So altogether, there are 6 different additions, which total about 12,325 square feet. All of that is on the first floor, and this shows a bit of the first floor plan, but there is some second floor space, which is more activity space for the nursing home residents. The existing building has 72,000 square feet, so this is an addition of about 15%. I'd like to emphasize that there are no zoning nonconformities with the property. The use is by right allowed use, a nonprofit facility like this in the public use district. And as I said, there'd be no increase in the number of beds, no changes in the adult daycare program involved in this application. So there'll be no programmatic changes really, and no increase in the parking requirements, nor in the traffic trip generation. I have submitted to the board, submitted it yesterday, a parking analysis. Our zoning bylaw actually provides that only 1 parking space is required for every 3 beds. That would only be 44 spaces, but there are 132 spaces shown on the plan, and there's actually opportunity for a lot more parking without interfering with the driveways or fire lanes and so on. And there has never been a parking problem at JML. With me tonight is Colleen Pino, who's the Executive Director of JML Care Center, and Jeffrey Dykins, the Chief Operating Officer of Falmouth Hospital, and Michael Bachstein, who's the Director of Facilities for Cape Cod Healthcare. Also, Greg Sarunian, who's the architect on this project and other projects for Cape Cod Healthcare, and Raul Lizardi Rivera, who is a professional engineer, as you know, and with Holmes & McGrath, the firm that did these plans. All of us are prepared to answer questions, or I'm sure one of us can answer most questions that you would pose, or some of them. And but Mr. Dykins and Ms. Pino would like to tell a little bit more about the project.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you so much for the time this evening to be able to address the planning board here in the town of Falmouth. Thrilled to be here. We're thrilled to be here because it signifies that Cape Cod Healthcare is making some change up at the JML Care Center and frankly making a significant investment in both an expansion and a renovation. Bob described very nicely the expansion areas in the plan, but we plan to renovate the entire facility. The facility was built in 1989, and its care, the care that's delivered there is absolutely wonderful, but the facility itself is a little tired. So we want that facility to reflect the excellence in care that's delivered there. We want the facility to also to look excellent, feel excellent, be excellent. Critical to this expansion is just really the 10 beds that we're adding on the northeast side. That allows us to present to our consumers, to the public, to patients, private rooms. Right now, in our short-term rehab unit, we have 17 double rooms and 18 single rooms. That's 52 total beds. We're going to go to 44 single beds and 4 double rooms. Still 52 beds, but emphasizing privacy for our patients. Why is that important on the short-term unit? We're very closely aligned, the JML is very closely aligned to the Falmouth Hospital. We have a wonderful orthopedic program at the Falmouth Hospital where many of our patients post-surgery, not just orthopedic surgery, but mostly orthopedic surgery, post-surgery go to the JML for what we call short-term rehab. And folks, post-surgically, don't want to have a roommate. They want to have their privacy, and they want to have quiet times and privacy post-surgery. So we feel as though we're meeting the market in a better way and meeting better customer service in a better way. And frankly, making a significant investment in what we believe to be a wonderful asset for the town of Falmouth and for the Upper Cape. We service the Upper Cape, but certainly very closely aligned with Falmouth Hospital. Here to answer any all questions. Again, some expansion and lots of renovation, $15 million total investment in the project, and we're extremely pleased to be here to present this to you. I would like to turn it over to Colleen. She's going to describe just kind of the impact on patients themselves with this renovation and this expansion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your time. I think Jeff did an excellent job describing the reason for that, the private rooms. When we have people coming over for whatever reason, a lot of orthopedic patients, pain involved, and infections, that type of thing, they're looking for private rooms, which we are able to shuffle around as best we can. But we think that in the end, this will be a much better feeling toward the building in the care that we can provide. And also, with the 132 beds remaining, a lot of our staff who are also Falmouth residents will be unaffected, except for just the expansion of the rooms themselves. So it won't affect our building or our day-to-day operations. We're just going to be able to revitalize, refresh the building, which after this many years, we need it, because who would have thought 20 years ago that everybody's coming in with a cell phone and a laptop that needs to be recharged. So we do a little dance around trying to do those kind of things. So those are the kind of things we're looking to provide for our residents that are coming in, our short-term patients, and certainly hoping with your consideration we'll be able to do so. Thank you.
Comments, questions? John, you start at the end. You got anything down there?
I don't have any questions.
Doug?
No, looks great. I don't have any problems with it.
Are there
going to be additional rooms? I was a little bit confused with the numbers tossed around. I think there are, but I don't know how many. In other words, how many beds total?
Well, there will be additional rooms, but no increase in the number of beds.
Okay.
Oh,
I must say, it took me a little bit of time to understand what was being done here. I had spent some time looking at the different elevations and so forth, but it makes a lot of sense, and it is a wonderful facility. I know a lot of people who've been up there.
I'm all set. Brian?
Well, it was the first plan I ever reviewed and inspected with the then town engineer George Calise back in 1989. I'm sorry to hear it's looking old and tired. That's all I got to say about that.
No reflection on you.
Sure.
How you feel?
I'm feeling good.
So, finish this up next meeting?
We'll see you again at your next available meeting, which hopefully will be in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Next applicant is Enterprise Rent-A-Car of Falmouth LLC. Site plan review to convert existing gas station to rent-a-car business establishment with 27 parking spaces located at 55 Davis Straits. For the applicant, yes.
Hi, how are you today? I'm Melissa Barry. I work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I'm the operations manager. We are currently located, you guys probably met with us before, but we are at 159 Worcester Court, and we're looking to move over to the old mobile station, which is at 55 Davis Straits. We are not changing the parking lot except for striping. So it was the town bylaw 240-51 that set it off for us to do the site plan review. And basically it's because the current use has 9 parking spaces. We're going to do, oh, they have 5?
No, you add more than 5.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We're adding more than 5, so that's why I'm in front
That's
of
why
you
you're here,
today.
yeah.
So our building is actually not changing, just renovation inside, and our parking lot is not changing except for striping. So it's kind of plain and simple.
No,
There's not too much to it. It's just restriping.
I've taken the time to look at the plan before.
Yeah,
Looking-
and actually, Scott did, I got the engineer's comments, and we did remove one of the parking spaces, and we did stripe for a ADA accessible van spot, and I do have a couple new plans that reflect that if you'd like to see. I sent it over to Melinda earlier today, but I don't know. Yes, actually, there was another spot that was right there that we removed, and then we added striping for the ADA spot.
John, you got any questions?
I do not.
Doug?
Well, the other thing that brings you here is not just the spaces, but it's a change of use.
Yes, I have applied for a special permit, and I am on the next zoning board meeting.
Right. And usually when we have a change of use in the site plan review, we try to encourage some improvement if it can be considered. Maybe there would be some landscaping improvements that could be improved. I don't know what you have in mind, but
We are keeping the existing landscaping because everything's in good condition. We'll obviously make it look a little bit better with new mulch, etc. But as far as the landscaping itself, the islands and so forth, we are keeping. I can show you what our plan for the exterior of the building is going to look like. It's going to look better than what it is right now. And that is, we are going to be painting the building. We're going to be doing some stone on the bottom of the building, and obviously putting our signage up. So there's kind of a couple different sheets, but it will make it look a little bit better than there currently. The building is a little bit run down, so in part of our renovating the building, we are going to be putting on a new roof and painting the building, and then just renovation on the interior for our use. And also on the property, we're not going to be doing any automotive, like oil changes or maintenance. It's just going to be our retail office with clean vacuum cars.
I had one question, Brian, that I didn't see make our checkoff list that I think we discussed that we were going to do. But on every site plan review, we're going to see if there's any possibility for bicycle parking. It doesn't seem to me like our checklist, but I thought we agreed to do that at the
Well-
joint meeting.
Typically, what we do, if there is an increase in peak hour traffic, it triggers traffic mitigation. But, the gas station's trip generation is more than what they are proposing here. So if they would want to put a bicycle rack in, they can, but it's not something that the planning board would look at in this instance. Because the gas station has a higher trip generation rate.
Oh, I know, I just thought we were gonna remind all the applicants that that's something we're gonna ask them to look at. We can't obviously demand it, but.
Yeah. In this instance, I think we've had any discussions with the design engineer, Corey, on this application? Has a designer come in at all? We haven't been approached. We can certainly approach the design team if that's the board's thinking, and we can ask them to put it in.
They have
for you.
employees that could ride bikes. I'm just,
Okay.
We wouldn't be opposed to it because
I just think it's a
honestly,
simple thing to do.
People buy bicycles to our facilities all the time because they're going greater lengths and need a rental car to do so.
Okay. So we can bring that up with them, and it is a requirement of the bylaw that, they show you, if the proposal is existing landscaping, the board has to find that satisfactory. Right.
thank you.
Okay.
Paul?
I have two comments. Were the gas tanks removed?
They were removed, yes.
So you're not
and
going to be
the
using
site-
those to top off tanks?
I'm sorry?
You're
No.
not going to be using those to top off?
No, the
vehicles?
tanks have been removed and the landlord is actually going through permit closure right now. Yes, we are renting the property.
Another comment for the record.
Yes.
The public meeting notice was published on May 27th, and 8 abutters were notified by regular mail.
Thank you.
I guess I just want to ask a couple of questions that the town engineer asked. One is will the site be limited to a maximum of 16 rental cars on the lot at one time?
Yes,
Is that what the limit is going to be?
yes. The name of our game is obviously to rent all of our cars. The cars that we have sitting on the lot, we're not making any revenue on. So we want our lot to be empty at all times. We do only have a couple spaces for employee parking because our managers are actually allowed to take rental vehicles home. So they don't have a personal car. They use our cars to go to and from work. And then there will be obviously some customer parking. And then 16, we have less than 16 spaces total at our current location. And we never have exceeded that amount. So having 16 rentals on site at this location will not be an issue.
And you mentioned that for the rental car, designated spaces are reduced in available space by the canopy supports. Is that something that you address?
It is, yes. We can actually put compact and intermediate size vehicles in those spaces, which would be labeled with, a post and a sign saying compact vehicle only.
So it seems like you've addressed all this.
We have, yes. And I do have copies of the new plans too that eliminated one of the spaces that Scott said, as well as the striping that I mentioned.
Anybody else? Anyone from the public? Yes?
Hi, how are you?
Howard Grosser, I'm one of the abutters, 14 Spring Bars Road, so I'm just behind the property, it's designated just above the property line. Just wanted to further what Mr. Brown brought up about site improvements. I get to look at the backside of the building. I'm sure you're improving the front. The backside's atrocious. The fence is broken. It's missing in places. It's overgrown for decades. If something could be done about that, if you folks can urge that, I would urge that of my neighbor.
Yes, we will be cleaning up the property. Like I said, we'll be painting the entire building, putting a roof on, and we will address the fence.
Excellent.
And all the trash behind there.
Well, so I would like to remind you, this is our opportunity, and we don't want to push you into anything, but if you could consider some landscape improvements that would enhance the property, that would make it easier for us to consider it. Really, it's something we typically do with each site plan. We're always looking to improve the town whenever we get a chance, so we do have that ability to ask for that. So I'd like you to please at least consider what you can do to try to enhance it a little bit.
Sure.
Okay? Thanks.
Okay, so we'll see them in the future.
We'll take a look at the fence and some landscaping, and if there's a designer to contact the office, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving along, next is a planning board discussion, the draft accessory bylaw. And I guess, I don't know if all of you have received it, but we have just recently received a letter from the Zoning Board of Appeals. And then we've got a lot of comments from it. You all get the chance to read it?
Yes.
Yes.
Any comments?
No, I got to find one with my notes.
Well, I have
Go ahead, Doug, you go.
My first comment was that it seemed their biggest objection, and right off the bat, was, the lights back up, please.
John, lights?
The first and biggest objection was the fact that we were proposing to make it a by right use within the building. And so that's something we'll have to consider, because that was I think their strongest concern.
Yeah, I agree, but I think we need to have a meeting with them to discuss it, so
Right.
we understand. They seem to imply in their letter that we were changing the amount of bedrooms that you could have in the house, that we'd be taking away all the protection from, that the overlay districts have, that we'd be changing the Title V requirements. We're not doing any of that. All the protections are in place right now. And in essence, the way I look at it is all we're allowing them to do is put a second stove in the unit, and they still have to perform by all the Board of Health regulations for bedrooms and everything. So I think we need to come to an understanding with them. They brought up some legitimate concerns, but I don't think that they've spent as much time discussing it and reviewing it as we have, and I think it'll be very fruitful to have a face-to-face with them and go through it. Because, I mean, those points, we've discussed all those points. And I think we've settled that there's lots of protection in town with overlay districts, water protection districts, Title V, and we're not touching any of those.
And if the number of bedrooms increases, then they'll have to
They have to
upgrade
go
the
to, a septic system has to be done, Board of Health weighs in, all the protections that are in place are still in place, we're not taking them away. And the letter kind of implied that we were doing that, and I don't think that's, so we need to
clarify.
We need to get through that with them a little bit. And that'll happen when we do a face-to-face with them.
Yeah, I read through the letter. I think a couple of interesting points. The special permit process that they're arguing, I think is something we need to discuss. I think it's a valid concern. The second one is they're potentially doubling build-out density, and I don't quite follow the logic of that.
Well, that was my point, I don't think we're doing that, we're not adding more bedrooms.
And so that concerned me. Those are the two big items
Yeah.
I had when I read through that. So we're scheduled to have a meeting with them, I think, the 16th.
I think so, man. What is it?
No, I think that's a conservation.
That's conservation.
We're looking at August.
Meeting with them
In Au-
later on.
ZBA is in August, yeah.
But I would welcome the opportunity to
Yeah.
discuss it with them.
Yeah?
They're not the only ones that have a concern about special permit, because as I've talked with a couple of other people around town, they are also concerned that we should keep the special permit process in. The thing I see against that is that every time you say special permit, that means that people feel they need to haul an attorney in here. But we would also have the design review, the site plan review, and those two could be done at the same time. So it's not like it's adding an extra burden if they just don't hire an attorney, they just bring in their plan. And we give a special permit.
We got some work to do with it, yeah. See how it goes. I think I know we're trying to make it easier. I think one of the things we're gonna look for is, okay, this bylaw that requires a special permit has been in place for a long time. How many of these have we actually done? And the whole intention is by changing this is because they're not happening. And to put the special permit back in place is gonna take us right back to where we've always been. And we're not moving forward with it, so that was the issue.
I think an important point also is the fact that just because we don't see them come through the process doesn't mean they're not happening. What's happening, I suspect, is people are just turned off by the bureaucracy and the special permit and the lawyers and all that, and they just go ahead and do it, and we don't hear about it. And so that is creating dangerous situations where I think the majority of legitimate contractors are not gonna do that. So then you're gonna get some handyman who might not even know what the correct procedures and rules are. So I think there's a safety issue, it's a public safety issue out there that is happening that we're kind of turning a blind eye to. And I think that's the main reason we were trying to make this a little more simple, so people will actually use the permit process.
Doug is right on the money with that, because that is one of the things that gets ignored when it comes to issues, in our purview, is safety. I mean, we're concerned with safety, and that was one of the main drivers of this, was the illegal apartments. And as somebody, when I first came to town, I stayed in illegal apartments, and I'd be willing to bet they're still illegal today. So we want to try, the moratorium hasn't worked. We want to try and get something that will work, that will produce a little more housing for people, especially young people coming to town, hopefully to work. Also to help people age in place. And if I still don't want to go every component of it with special permit, because it just drives people away, and I don't think it's going to solve anything. And you know, when I saw that comment about the doubling the density, I'd like to know where that information came from. Because I went through the list of towns that have a by right accessory apartment bylaw, and I don't see where those
Well,
towns
it was
have-
the math, she did present it, saying if there's 2 units, then you can have 5 people for unit, each
Right.
unit, so that instead of having, so each house could have 10 people.
Yeah.
That's an extreme view, technically, I think
Right.
that's where the math, where that came from.
But I'd like
But
to see where
that's
that-
not really practical.
No.
We don't really see 10 people, 2 people in every bedroom, or 8 people in bedroom. Actually, this design for Title V is 2 people per bedroom.
Yeah. So it's like you mentioned before, I think there are so many constraints already that a lot of these issues that they brought up in here are addressed by current zoning.
And maybe we could put a cap on, one of the things we've done, if we're gonna have these, is some kind of, didn't we say that, I think there's something about an affidavit they have to sign, an order of occupancy, that same, we could just put the occupant number right into that same affidavit and solve that problem that way. So there's a lot of valid concerns they have that we can work it back into the system.
Paul was
Sorry?
I was just going to say, when we were drafting this bylaw, we spent a lot of time talking about things like the monitoring of the accessory apartments. That's not really addressed this later, and I think that's an important element.
Well, they did, yeah.
And, I think we need to point that out a little bit when we talk to them a little bit, that their concerns can be addressed not only by monitoring, by so many other things we have going on. And I think we can probably come with some solution that's more practical and more easy to implement.
I think that's actually how we got by those issues the first time, was saying, that they have to, every year the owner has to sign an affidavit, swearing basically under oath that this is where, that they're there for a certain amount of months. We have an owner occupancy thing, we could put total occupancy into that same thing, that there's no more than X amount of people in it, so we're not literally taking a home with 5 people live and making it 10. That's certainly not the intent, and that could be protected the same way. We got to protect these things, and we got to find a way to get a balance on them. So we got a lot of work to do, obviously. Yes, John?
So, the way it's proposed, or going to be proposed, if someone wanted to get an accessory apartment in their existing dwelling, what kind of a permit would they have to get? Something from the building department? Would it be? Because part of their concern is the neighbors, that all of a sudden you've got other people living next door, more vehicles, or, so there must be some sort of a permit that has to be pulled to get an apartment in your home.
Right.
Well,
So there is oversight of some sort.
absolutely. To put a stove in, you need a permit. That's, and all the electrical, the plumbing, any changes of walls, any structure. Building permits are for just, I don't think technically you can put an outlet in the wall without a building permit.
You would have to pull the building permit.
That's what it doesn't say it in the
Right, they
documents
kind of-
I've read, but I wanted to,
Gloss over that, yeah.
understand that that would be part of the process, is to get
And
either a
our-
remodeling permit or a building permit, something
You gotta
that,
provide
So-
means of egress.
so there
And there's a
is
design
oversight.
And a design review.
And then you have to go through the health department,
Yeah,
and
right.
et cetera, so.
And I think, we didn't clarify that, that's a good point. I think actually it would have to be an accessory apartment permit. And we would have control of site plan review, which is also going to be architectural review, because part of the requirement is that it can't just be sticking out like a sore thumb off the side of the house and create an ugly effect. So we're going to review the site plan for parking, the structure, as well as the building permit.
And I like the part that it's by right. I really think that's a big part of this, if it's in your existing dwelling.
But keep in mind, I think they missed the point that we're going to be doubling the amount of bedrooms in these properties. You're not. Board of Health, septic, if the house has it's a 3-bedroom house, 330 gallons per day, that's all you can have is 3 bedrooms. You know, one of them could be a separate apartment, and the other 2 in the other apartment, but we're not adding bedrooms. So I think the way I look at it, and I may be far too simplistic, but I mean, you could have the same amount of people stay in your house, but all we're really doing is allow you to have a stove, a second stove. You know, you could put 2 people in each bedroom, and they all have the right to park there already. You know, that's already in the house. And really, the only significant thing here is the extra stove, and it's limited to 800 square feet of it.
Was it 850?
A maximum 850 or 50%?
And also related to the size of the house.
Right, to the size of the house. So, I mean, there are all kinds of controls. And so we just need to work with them and have them get a little bit more comfortable that we actually have addressed some of these issues.
When I think of the house my wife and I live in, we'd be eliminating a bedroom if we were to put an accessory apartment in the same building. I've done others. I did one for my brother. We eliminated bedrooms. We weren't adding bedrooms because we were creating living spaces and kitchens and things like that. So we actually eliminated bedrooms.
Well, they also have the ability to create an addition to create this. So it could increase the space, it could increase the bedroom, but then that triggers the septic upgrade.
Right.
And if they're in a
Lot
coastal...
coverage ratios, every other protection is already there.
If they're in a water overlay or a coastal pond overlay, then they have to go to the denitrification system, which probably they don't have now. So that would be an improvement as well.
So I think that's the point that a lot of people miss, that all the protections are still there. We're not taking them away. We're just allowing the use a little differently. And if you're building something separate, then that is a special permit.
Well, I'm glad we got the strong feedback from them, because it'll be our job.
Yeah, it'd be nice
It'll be our job to
conversation.
convince them that it's a good idea, or compromise with their concerns, because if we can't convince them, then we'll have a
We're
hard
not
time
gonna get by
convincing
town
town
meeting.
meeting.
No, that's always the game here.
Yeah, I think it's terrific that they provide some input. We were sent to other departments. Have we gotten responses from any other committees?
I think we have some responses back from our Affordable Housing Committee, and the Housing Trust has commented too.
We did get responses.
Yes, we did. So I'll try to set something up early August.
Yeah.
Give you a little time to discuss these matters with the Board of Appeals before the close of the warrant, usually the first week of September. I'll give you a month to ruminate on it.
And this isn't gonna be easy, so.
And it might be that you just report to town meeting in November, and we'll see you at the April town meeting,
Yeah.
because, there's no sense in, well, you might want to set the table for a November town meeting, but it'd be up to the board.
My preference would be to try it, because it may take more than one town meeting.
That's right.
And just get the process going.
Get the process going, get their reaction too.
Right.
Oftentimes, these things don't pass at the first town meeting, as we all know. The town meeting members give you their thinkings, and you go back and change it, and the wind energy system bylaw failed. The
Yeah.
first time, you took their comments, and it passed the second, so. It's good to get the public dialogue going.
You have something ready, Pat?
Well, one thing that we did discuss that, not specifically in regard to this, but it may give a more comfort to people, is that as this is written, it encompasses 85% of the town. And we had talked at one point in time of limiting it. Two places that are on sewer, on public transportation, to see what happens. And I don't know whether that would make people more comfortable with it or not, whether we should bring that up again or not.
That would certainly be a small step. Our intention was to create a lot more housing,
Yeah.
take a
I
big step,
understand.
but that's certainly an option.
I'm not advocating it.
No,
I'm
no, it's
simply
something- it's on the
saying
table.
It
No.
may be a small step to gain comfort.
I mean, we're trying to create a lot of housing units. Our town has changed. Our demographics have changed. The age of our population has changed, and we're trying to adapt to it. And I think that's what this is all about. And I think that while zoning board has come up with a lot of things, they're really trying to keep everything the same.
Well,
Yeah.
they're trying to keep it controlled.
Well, they kept referring to all the controls that they have in place. We want to keep them in place.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't been producing.
Right.
I think the statement that marks a major departure from the current.
Yeah, we're trying to.
Yeah, we're trying.
That's the exact point. We are trying to
It
make a
hasn't
major
worked.
change. That's,
Well, I think at this point, best to get the two boards together.
Absolutely.
Have some talking points, we could put that together for you. You know, where do you agree? Where do you disagree? Where are we in the middle? Maybe we can work on the things in the middle a bit, and then talk about the things that are, eventually, it's really a decision of the town meeting.
yeah, it's town meeting. Our job is
Your job and the Board of
to
Appeals'
bring it
job
forward
is
and let
to,
town meeting deal with it. We
is-
don't get to decide. It's,
right, to bring it forward. That's a public policy decision. Remember, it's housing versus some of the other public issues that are out there. And this ultimately is decided by the elector, or the town meeting members who represent the elector. So you're doing a good job, good work, and the Board of Appeals is doing a good job.
Could I ask one more question, please? I think at the last meeting, I heard somebody say something about an amnesty program. Did I hear it incorrectly? Is there an amnesty program?
There is, but it's probably getting close to coming to the end.
there was a bylaw, amnesty bylaw, a year or two ago. Kevin Clower,
It was a 3-year program, and I think it's,
Ends in 2017.
yeah.
And
so
how-
if you had one, you built it illegally, didn't get the permits for it, but it does pass the building code, you can apply for it and get it approved as an accessory bylaw.
apply at the building department?
Right.
Yes.
Yes, and what they do primarily, I've done one of them, and what they do is insist that you have an egress window if there's a bedroom, all your smoke alarms are in place, and all your fire protections, firewall between the heating system area of the basement, if there is one, stuff like that. It's not very difficult, they made it pretty reasonable. The one I did, the ceiling was just a tad below 7 feet, and they said, well, this is part of the amnesty, we're gonna let that go because it's a reasonable, it was just that close.
Mhm.
So they're kind of working with it.
Shouldn't be saying that.
Why? That's how it was. That's a judgment call on, building official.
Get a different ruler. Okay. I think,
All right, so I'll try to set that up as soon as we can, and get that information back to the board. If I can find that
Yes.
agenda.
We have no general correspondence, you've already reported to that.
We've dealt with that, yeah.
And future agenda items. Yes, Paul?
I think it's appropriate we have another report on the committee assignments. Each of us have meetings with different committees, so it's appropriate we put that on the agenda and next.
Good idea. I think that,
reports.
we haven't done that in a while, it's a good thing.
Well, particularly since we're coming to the end of the fiscal year, and it might be appropriate time to do that.
Yes, Pat?
We usually have re-election, reassignment, whatever you want to say, along with the reorganization of the board.
Right.
with the
So we
committees.
reorganized last time, so
Yeah.
then now it'd be,
And I don't remember what committee Ralph was on. Or committees, do you, anybody?
Who's the CPC now? Is that you, Paul?
Yeah.
think he took care of that before he left. then.
So we'll get you your list of committees and.
We'll review it next meeting, yeah?
Sure.
Okay, and the next meeting is scheduled for June 15th. It's going to be a joint meeting with the Conservation Commission.
It's a Wednesday night.
It's a Wednesday night.
So
So it's their-
it's an away game. And
This room,
This room, Russell will be chair.
Russ will be chair. And,
The agenda will be set, Art is the local comprehensive plan, and I think the conservancy bylaws, and then they'll come up with 2 items.
right. And we wanted to be clear, we're not talking about, this is a policy meeting, goals and policies, not specific properties.
That's the idea.
Okay, that, we're going to try to focus on the bigger picture
Right.
with them.
Okay?
And
you will-
Is that
and you will be-
6:30?
Yes. And you will be meeting the 21st, and we'll have to discuss somewhere around the 28th. Hopefully by either the 28th or the 27th, we'll be able to meet with the Board of Selectmen for an appointment to fill Ralph's term. And I know
But that's their meeting, we'll be going to
that'll be an away game
a
again.
away game at their
Right.
their
And it has
place.
to be posted 7 days in advance,
And,
so.
and we have some, what's the critical deadline you mentioned to me before? Don't we have something pending we need to have a full board for?
We have a remand back from the land court. We have we have another pending suit in the land court that wants to be remanded, but the plaintiffs want a full complement of board members, because you need 5 out of 7 for a special permit. So the sooner the better. But Mr. Suso and others are aware of that. So we'll go.
Okay.
There's nothing else on my agenda.
I move adjournment.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.